Okay, good evening, everybody. You're welcome to class 10 of IPAN training schedule 5. I want to believe you're all doing well, right? Is everybody doing well? Is everything cool? Can you hear me? The class
Yes, we can.
has started. All right. So yeah, we started talking about IIS yesterday, and that's what we're going to continue from today. Who can help us? What did we say IIS is? Does anybody
I'm
know?
going to make a pass for black pencil you can.
Okay, I have to mute that person. Does anybody know what IIS is, please? We started yesterday, so help us. So I just muted everybody. You can unmute yourself when you need to speak, please. So I think Mr. Tosi wanted to say something. Kindly unmute yourself and talk to us. We are waiting. Who wants to tell us something? Mr. Michael, what is IIS? Just unmute yourself.
Well, Olumide speaking here.
All right, Mr. Limide.
Wasn't in the class really, but I know IIS is an Internet Information Service. It
Okay,
is used to enable internet service on servers to be able to talk to the internet.
all right. Thank you. In my okay, so internet is part of the scope. It could be intranet as well, but the keyword there is it helps you to configure web. Is a form of web server. All right, is a kind of web server that helps you uh, to share, to process, and to deliver information across networks, either local area networks or wide area network. Right? That was what we said yesterday. And then we talked about two keywords that came up in that explanation. Okay, so as a way of reminder, IIS is a flexible web server from Microsoft that runs on Windows systems to serve requested HTML pages or files to clients. All right. We say HTML is what? HTML is hypertext markup language, right? And what did we say server is? A web server is a computer program, is a software which also have the component, the corresponding hardware, because every software, every program is launched from an hardware, from a server. I
Yes,
think
yes.
a virtual machine. All right. So if you are not speaking to us, please endeavor to mute yourself. All right. And then it uses HTTP. That's a web server. That program uses HTTP. HTTP is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It uses other protocols as well. Okay. Yesterday we were talking about secured file Transfer Protocol (SFTP), talk about Simple Mail Transfer Protocol (SMTP), File Transfer Protocol (FTP). Okay, talking about protocols that web servers uses to deliver pages or sites or applications to clients, to users on the network, right? And we also mentioned there are other type of web servers apart from IIS. We have the Apache HTTP, you have the Engine Inc, you have a Light TTPD, and you have some Java, many of them like that. Some are private, some are available for public. Okay, and we hinted that the two common ones are IIS and Apache, right? So today we're going to install and configure our IIS. Is everybody in class? Please talk to me. Am I audible?
Yes, you are
Yeah, we
audible.
can hear you.
Mr. Femi, are we also going to do the Apache aspect of the course?
Yes, but we'll do Apache in AWS, in
Okay.
DevOps.
What will be the difference in deploying Apache on Windows servers and in
Okay, so
AWS?
for IIS, we didn't host the server. So it is only intranet. It is available only within our domain. And you
Within
know
our
our
domain.
domain is local to our system. We didn't host it.
Yes.
But in AWS, we're going to host it such that if I create my web server here, Apache, I can give you the link wherever you are. I'll ask you to type it on your phone URL and you see the server, the website. We'll launch a mini one. If you create your own too, you can send this to us on on our WhatsApp page. All of us we can browse and see it. All right. So the difference is just that we'll make our Apache live, but our IIS that we are doing now
It's
is
not going to be live
no, it's
local.
just within our domain intranet, right? We're not going to be hosting it. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. Any other question? Okay, so we're going to move on for this class. For this training, we are going to be using our server, which is also our domain controller. We're going to be configuring web server on it. And this is our server. This is also our domain controller. But in real life, it is in live production, it is it is best to separate the domain controller from the web server. All right. I mean, the machine that is hosting the domain controller should be separated from the machine hosting the web server. All right. So what I'm saying is either physical or virtual. Look at it. I have ITAN server here. All of you can see my cursor, right? And I have ITAN server 2 here. All right. I could join you. You know that my ITAN server 2, at a point, it was joined to this domain, www.itan.com. All right. The only difference is that I made ITAN server 2 a replica of ITAN server 1. That means on the domain, everything that's happening on the ITAN server 1 on the domain will replicate on ITAN server 2 as a domain controller, not for other functions. So when I say as a domain controller, that means as long as it is within ADDS, DHCP, and DNS, it will replicate on this point. Every other thing will not replicate. Are we in class now? Are you getting me? Please give me feedback.
Yes, yes.
All right. However, what I'm trying to explain now is if ITAN server 2 isn't a domain replica, a replica domain controller to ITAN server 1, I'm saying if this is a production setting live, don't make item server one your domain controller and then again you configure your web server on it.
Yes.
It is
That's right.
wisdom that you come to another server on that domain and configure your web server on it. Because depending on the activity that will be going on your web server, you don't want its head to be too hot such that it begins to affect the domain controller. All right, because in real life scenario, you have the network administrator separately, you have the server administrator, web server administrator separately. But in Nigeria, they can give you the two to run. In fact, in Nigeria, they can also put broom in your office to sweep it yourself if you are not careful. All right. So, but for the purpose of this training, like I said, we are going to be configuring our web server on our domain controller. All right. So who is ready? If you are ready, unmute and say yes. Let's fire.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we're about to install first.
Uncle Femi,
Yes, sir.
is it possible to create another server and install this thing on his
Of
web
course.
server?
That's what I just explained.
I can do that one on my own
Yes.
as
I could have used this one, this server too. But because I have made this server two a replica to this one, so it's still the same thing as using this one. Do you get?
I get.
So I can launch, I can spin another server up now, and I will not configure ADDS, DNS, and DHCP on it. Rather, I will just join it to the domain. You know, there is difference between joining the server to the domain that is being headed by another server. That is, there is difference between that and making a server replicate from a domain controller. I hope you know.
I know.
I'm talking to everybody now. I hope we all know. All right. When you join into your domain,
Yes,
it means
yes,
that
yes,
in that
yes.
domain they can see each other.
See, yes.
Right.
Means that
So
that server is being controlled by the domain controller, not
exactly,
joining
exactly.
with
So
the domain controller.
thank you. Look at what we have here. Okay. After I went to rename that my second server, instead of renaming again only, I moved it from being a work group and I joined it to the domain. And that was when we could see it here. All right. See the two servers I have on this my domain here. So if I create another server, I can also come here. I come to uh, manage, add server. I will also see it here. Okay. So from here, I can also what manage all other servers, not only clients. I can manage all other servers. All right. So like you ask, I can spin up another server rather than make it a replica of any domain. I will only join it to the domain and I will make it a web server still on that domain. All right. So in real in production settings, these are some of the ways. Okay, especially when you are running on premise. Okay, but now that the world is going to cloud now, is an encouragement that all of us should aspire to get to DevOps in this training. No matter what it will take you, please ensure you get to DevOps. You will appreciate everything better. Okay, in DevOps now, you don't have to bother which one is the domain controller, which one is the server. I mean, the platform is available for you. Just go ahead and begin to configure what you need to do. All right, so let's come back to class. Now we want to install IIS rather. From your dashboard, your server manager dashboard here, you come and add roles and features. Either you add it from here or you add it from here. From manage or from here, it's the same thing. We want to add roles and features now. Next, next, This is the server. Okay, assuming that this second server, assuming it is running, if I power it up, anytime you are adding rows and features, you will see it here. All right. So don't think maybe when you are working on your own and you see two servers here, you're not wondering. Just go and pick the one that you want to configure that particular rows and feature on. Can we all please mute ourselves so that we can enjoy this class when we are watching the video? Okay, thank you. So I pick this server. This is my item domain controller. I say next, right? And what do I want to do?
Web server, IIS.
Web IIS. You check it. When you check it will load for a while. Now it's asking you management tools, console. You click add features. When you add features, you tell it to what? Next, next, until this is all that you want. Look at it properly. There are some that will say come back and check, but
Hold on.
let's just
Hold
go
on. Hold on. Hold on.
next and then install. So right now,
Okay. Stefan, sorry, I want to ask a question.
okay,
You know, the moment you click on the IIS web server,
yes,
there are some other features of IIS like IIS agent, IIS host, and blah blah blah.
yes.
We don't need all that for. Do we need all that, or we don't need all that for
Okay,
web server
so
configuration?
this is a training, right? And I in this training I assume that you have not even worked with IIS. So you are taking it from the top, from the bottom up. All right. So there are some that will still come back to come and check.
Oh, okay,
All
okay.
right. So if you have not seen if you have not seen ABC before, I should not be showing you XYZ. I should at least take it from the elementary up. So we'll still come back. There are some of them that we'll still need to use. We'll come back and add it. We'll come back and add it to the feature and to the rules and feature. Did you get?
Yes, I get that.
All right, so right now we'll just wait it out for the installation to complete. Okay.
So what I'm going to change over now.
Please.
Okay. I'm sorry, I will have to unmute us since we said that we don't listen to your private conversations. Okay. Is there any question? We can take questions while we are waiting for the installation. I just hope this will not delay us today.
So, Mr. Femi, again, I want to ask.
Yes.
Assuming we are using a different server from the domain controller,
Yes.
so what we just need to do is to add that server to the domain and enable this IIS feature. That's all.
Simple, sir.
Is that all?
Yes, sir. You join the server to the domain. When you join it to the domain, you go and configure web server IIS on it. All right. Yeah. And so you can work with it. Right. So like I said, on premise, especially to organizations that normally host websites for people, they try to separate the domain controller from the web server. Right. In fact, thank God that we now have virtualization technology. Although I don't know about them, but what I read, it's been decades ago, is that you get to a standard workstation, you see a lot of computers, different computers, different doing different things, right? Different computers doing different things. But now virtualization has helped you, and that's why everybody wants to be on cloud now. Everybody wants to be on cloud because that is where things are. Imagine your laptop in front of you, you carry it, and you can do anything with it. Uh, Imagine you can fly from Nigeria to which country is allowing us to come now? I think has opened their border, right? From Nigeria to UK, and you carry your office with you, just your laptop, all right? And you might be a network administrator or server administrator controlling a server that is hosting 3 countries in Africa, but you are carrying the whole server with you as long as since it is in the cloud, no problem. When they need your input, you open your computer, the host in front of you, you do what you need to do, you shut it, and you move on.
Mr. Feb, let me shock you.
Please
During
talk to me.
COVID, during COVID, we have two of our staffs, one in UK, one in Canada. They're even more effective than us.
Shey,
Their internet is not it's not going anywhere, and they can read their mail. In fact, they are
right?
like, do they even need to come back?
Shey, I experienced the same thing here as well. Yeah, I have two of my bosses that resides in Houston, and then the lockdown met them in Houston, and then they didn't have any reason to return. One of them returned actually. The other one, I think he had issues with immigration, blah blah blah. Right. So as long as you have steady internet and you have everything to work on computer, you're doing it. I'm not even saying we do Zoom meeting. No, I mean it's controlling the network from here. We have a console in this place that is connected with internet. Imagine someone able to maneuver our instrumentation device from here. And on field, engineers deal with more of automation and instrumentation, control and instrumentation. He sits there and then begins to tell us that what are we doing in that control room? Are you guys sleeping? Our pressure on so well is this and that. And we like, and it's there and it's effective. So everything now is on the internet, right? So imagine how the company that is hosting us, that we are using their platform for all these things. Imagine the guys working there. That is what this training is about. So you can be the guy that will be working for those companies. All right. So successfully, we have installed our web IIS on our server, which is also our domain controller. So let's move ahead. Okay. So what do we do next now? Can we refresh this server? Installation succeeded. Good. So let's try and refresh our server. Okay. We're working now. Tools. Remember, when you want to add rules and features, if you don't use it here, you use that to manage. But when you have successfully done that, the next point you'll be using, we'll be working from is from tools. When we wanted to configure DHCP tools, when we wanted to configure ADDS tools, when we wanted to configure DNS tools, now that we want to configure IIS installed tools again. So tools, you come to Internet Information Services, you allow the window to load. If you have questions, please you can unmute yourself and talk to us. So this
Well,
is
there's another on the left pane. There's another IIS there.
yes. It's just so this is just showing you the roles and management on the server.
Okay.
Did you get?
Okay.
If you
Yeah.
click on it, it will not bring you to this window where you can manage it. It will only
Okay.
show you what that server is in respect to IIS.
Okay.
All right, because if I power my replica server and here I click on IIS, you will not see that second server because I didn't configure IIS on it. But if I come to local server here and if I power my replica server or server rather, you're going to see the two servers. See the two server is listed here. You can see, right? But this one is not active, it's not live because I've not powered it. But when I come to IIS, you won't see it because I didn't configure IIS on the second server. All right, so let's continue work from our window at this point. The next thing is you will expand the server here.
Sorry, Prof. Just a minute.
Okay, sir.
Now that you've what they call it, replicated the second server,
Yes.
shouldn't the things that you are doing on the first server automatically be replicated, even if though it's not on? Once you put it on, should it then automatically be replicated on the second server?
Very solid question. Thank you, sir. So the server is not on, is not powered. You cannot receive any command. So whatever thing you do as regards ADDS, DHCP, DNS only, because these are the things we configure it to replicate for. And these are the three functions that will allow you to, these are the three roles that will allow you to function properly as a Windows network administrator. All right, so it is only these three roles that will be replicating on the replica server. So whatever I do here now, if I host this domain, i10.com, if I host it, it will remain in the cloud. The moment I power my replica server, it will go and replicate on it once I refresh the two servers. If I didn't host it, it will still be here as well. When I power it, the replica server, and I refresh the two servers, everything I have done within these three will go and replicate on the replica server. All right, but right now you cannot replicate whatever I do on ADDS, TXCP, DNS because it is not running. It is powered off.
Okay, so if you had done the IIS on the second server, whatever you do on IIS on the first server, once you power up the second server, it will replicate there.
Okay, so
That's what you're saying.
I didn't configure IIS to replicate on the second server. It's a web server. It is not a domain. Don't forget, our domain controller is first a server that distributes network and functions to all other machines on the domain, right? It is first a server, a machine on its own. Then we now made it a domain controller. We add to its function. And now we are also adding to its function, making it also a web server. All right, so it's just like you have Mr. President is first Mr. Muhammadu Buhari before you made him the, okay, let's say like this. He's first a man before you now made him a president to control other men and women. All right. They can now add another function to him as ECOWAS leader.
Minister of Petroleum.
I beg, I don't want to discuss that one. No, they might be listening to us.
So I get your point. So what I'm saying is that I didn't mean you activated IIS on the second server.
Yes.
So if you replicate anything now on the first server, would that also apply for IIS just as it does for DHCP, DNS?
No, sir, it will not. Because I didn't configure IIS as part of replication on the first server.
That's what I'm saying. If you do so,
On
would it
IIS,
yes.
if I do IIS on second server, it will function on its own. IIS is like is like a feature, no, not like a role whereby whatever you do here, it is
Okay.
it is duplicated
Okay.
on other ones. No,
So it's only by cloning or taking an image in that you can achieve that, right?
exactly. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, but in real life scenario, your web server, right, is virtual. It is in it is in the cloud. It is internet. So it is unlikely that you will have any. Uh, okay, well, it depends on configuration, replication settings that you are using. All right, but I get your question to see how we can also back up the IIS, right? In case one
Yes.
fails the other. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But the fact that it is on the internet, if that is if you host it, okay. But I get what you are saying. What will make sense is that as we are launching it here, you come and launch another one here too. Let it be on standby. All right. So let's move on. This is our IIS window, and this is where we are working from now. Okay. So, like I said, you expand the domain server. When you expand that, you come down and expand site as well. And by installing IIS, it automatically comes with a default website. This one here. Are we in class?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, it automatically comes with a default website, which is this. Okay, so we can browse for this now. We can browse for this. If you come to default document, these are the web pages. Remember when we were talking about IIS, we said that it uses HTML, the language it uses. These are other languages. ASP, HTML, and HTM, they are the same thing. Okay, just as you have JPEG and JPG. Okay, these extensions are the same thing. So these are default page on our IIS. But remember, we said that it is what? It is intranet. We didn't launch this site. So if I give you the IP address of this server and you put it on your own browser over there, you will not see it. It will not return anything. But because it is within our domain here on this system, we can browse for it. So shall we browse for it? Let us launch our browser. We'll launch our browser now. Okay. So let me test our knowledge so far. I want to browse for a web server that is resident on my computer. So I'm saying, look for me a web page that is on this system. Recommend blah 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 blah. Just close this and let's move on. What are we going to type here?
HTTP and the server IP.
So what?
HTTP//server IP.
Thank you. A very brilliant try. Who else can help us? I've talked about it a lot. Okay, let's save time. Localhost. Localhost. All right. What is localhost? We said that It means local computer that the program is running on. That's the local. Like if I want something to happen on my, if I want to refer to my system. So this is IIS, and I want to browse for a web page that is resident on this domain. On this domain, what will I call it? It is a local host, right? So let me also test our knowledge. Remember when we were doing IP configuration manually, and I said there is a special IP that is reserved for local hosts. If you want the system to look for itself or to query itself for anything, what did we say that IP is?
127.
Thank you. 127, yes.
0,
Uh-huh.
0, 1.
Thank you. Do you see that? Did you see what happened? It returns the same page.
Yes.
All right. Local. So let's also browse using the IP address. Who remembers our IP address? The IP
Dot
address.
20. Is it 10 or dot 20?
I think it's .20, because if it is .10, it will not load.
It's dot 20.
It's 20. It's 20.
It is 20. All right. One. Okay. Did you see that? They returned the same thing. Are we in class now? So can we come to our client and check? So can Olabimi from where did you say Olabimi is that time? I think East Africa. Can Olabimi also launch his browser and confirm? Right. So if Olabimi wants to browse for that site, what will he use? Is he going to use localhost?
No, because it's not resident on his
because the server is not on his own system. So what will he use? Who's going to
use the server IP address.
Thank you.
We use HTTP and the server IP address.
Oh, okay. Are we in class now? So this is our website. Okay, this is the default welcome Windows Server International Information Service welcome. So let me show us where that is coming from. Okay, so default website, it means the moment you install your IIS, automatically there's a default website for you to test everything that you have been doing. And this is the default document. That thing you saw, it is one of these. All right, it is one of these. Just so you can be sure that it is not fluke that we are doing. Can we edit this index.html? Can we edit it and put our own word or write up and see if we browse for it? We'll still be able to what? We'll be able to access it. Is that possible? Do you want us to do that? So let's do that.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, so now there is a special path on the server, a special directory on the server where web pages can reside. So when you query a URL, at the back end, there is a path for that URL. You know, like I said, a server is a program, is a software, but it is resident on one hardware somewhere. Do you understand? So even after it has done its own DNS, resolving DNS, and the finally say, okay, this is where this server is from, there is still a path on that either server or on that host where everything you are seeing on your computer in front of you while you are browsing, there's a path where it is querying, that is getting it from. So what I'm saying is when you write a script and you developed a website, you write a script using different, maybe you use Python, maybe you use Python to write your own script. There's somewhere you put those scripts, all right? Even though you put it on your own system, you inputted it on your system. When you hosted it, the company that hosted it have created a path for it somewhere, such that when anybody anywhere in the world queries or require something of that site, you will not see all this thing in the background. What you are just seeing is your own page that is what flashing on your screen, but a lot is going on in the background. All right. And what we want to do now is I want to go and show you that part so you can as well edit this index. All right. And then you can what? You can browse for it. How do we do that? You come to your file explorer. You open your PC. Okay. Your local drive. Look at this folder, init pub. You click it. www.root, this folder. All right. So those things that you saw, IISS start. Have you seen this IISS start? Look at it here. IISS start. Are you following me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
if I delete this thing from here now and I browse for this site, I will not find it. Okay, so what I want to say now is IISS start is when it is loading now. Can we go and create an index.html? Can we go do that here now? So let us launch.
So, hello, hold on, Mr. Femi. It means that in editing the file, we should not touch that IIS start.
If you
It's
touch
not
it, it means that you will not be able to, that means you are replacing it with something else if you touch it.
okay. That means whenever you launch the IIS, like that fresh page you are having now, it will be replaced by whatever you put in there.
Exactly. And if you didn't see anything there, there's nothing that will happen.
Okay.
This place will not return you anything. It will give you page false something, one error. All right. It means that, okay, oh, I got here, I didn't see anything. All right. Or maybe I changed the extension of this thing. I changed the extension to from HTML to something else. And this cannot recognize any other thing apart from HTML. It will not return you anything. All right. So let's create new, and let's create a text document. You want to create another default web page. New text document. If you can't use new text document, you come to search here and you type Notepad. It will give you the same thing. Okay, but the difference is that by creating new text document, it automatically save inside where we created it. Okay, so if I open this, and let's say, what do you want to see first when we open our website? Let's form like people that used to write command.
Hello world.
Yes. I know you now. You're a software engineer.
I just say come on, I don't miss plenty.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So, hello world. Now there is a way you must save it. If you don't save it in the right format, like I said, it only recognizes HTML extension. If you don't save it like that, there will be issue. And I said, let us replace the index that we have here with what? With something else. So let's save it with index.html until you put this extension before you can recognize it as a web page. You say save. I have saved it. I minimize it. I'm going to delete this because I created it from here. What do you observe here?
They are all internet documents. What you have here, the one you created is not just Notepad that is not.
The Notepad was converted to HTML format.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Afemi.
Yes, sir.
Do you have to type when you're trying to name the text documents?
Yes.
Do we have to type .html or no? There's also after the name.
Yes.
There's a place where you choose file formats.
No. I won't see it. I won't see it on a notepad. This is for training purpose. But if you were to be using your standard scripting software, maybe you're using Python, you can be able to see, okay, in that extension you want to save it. Let me quickly show us again. The other time I just did, I right clicked, I said new and text, but this time let us come and move it from here. Let me search for Notepad. All right, see Notepad here. This is a new Notepad, right? So let me say
my first web page.
Thank you. Web page. And I say what? Save. It will now ask me, where do I want to what? Save. Okay, because I have tried to save the one before, automatically it brought this link for me. Otherwise, I should have been seeing something like document. Are we in class now?
Yes.
Are you following me? All right, so that's when you will now navigate to where you have, that folder. Okay, so let us call it, let's call it Aaron. Are you seeing it now? .html. You are saying, why don't we drop this down? We will not see HTML here because Notepad is not a standard scripting program for web pages. All right, but you can do .html to what? To cheat it. And then I say save. So this is my fish though. It should be my first. Then I save. And what? I close. Are you with me now?
Mm.
Okay, so now let's see what's going to happen if we refresh this site. Like I said, since it is on your local host, it should be local host. What are you saying?
Hello world.
Are we in class, everybody? We are saying
Yes.
hello world. If I come to the client machine as well, and I refresh this, I should be seeing the same thing. Hello world. All right. Now remember, HTML is a special language. There's a way we can design these things, but we're going to do that one later. Let us do the important things first. So now we've been able to configure our IIS, and we've seen what can
What
happen.
about my first web page that we did?
Okay, so because my first web page in the default document is not there, is not here in the default document. So if we want that Haron.html to be the replacement for everything we have here, remember this was where we are initially, and then I clicked on default document, and we have replaced index, and our index is bearing, okay, and the web page on our index is hello world. Forgive me, let me use the right word or the right diction. This is our web page, our default website page, okay? And what it bears is what? Hello world. Now, I don't want it to be saying hello world or to be showing me different welcome languages. I have a special one I have prepared that whoever log into my website first, the first thing that greets them is that page, all right? And I want to add it here. You come here and you say add, all right? When you say add, what's the name of what you created in this place? Haron, isn't it? You come
Aaron.
here and you say haron.html, right? And you say okay. So as you have added it now, if you come here, you browse your local host, my first web page. Are we in class now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm in class.
All right. Thank you very much. So let's move ahead. Okay, so there are other things we can do around here. And let us look at this home page, pane one by one. Authentication. Okay. I clicked on authentication, and it's saying anonymous authentication enabled. It means that anybody, both APC, PDP, Democrat, Republican, Pakistan, as long as they are able to access, they have my site's IP address, they can log in. But because this is an intranet, we are using it mainly within our company. We don't want it to be available for everybody. We can what? We can set authentication for these things. All right. So the person that asked me when we were trying to install our IIS, are there other functions from that point that you saw us that we need to check. By default, the basic things are there. But the more that you want to do, or that you know that you should do, you have to go yourself and enable it. So this one is saying what? Anonymous. But we want only clients or users on our domain, join to this domain, people that we created accounts for alone to be able to access this our intranet. How do we go about that? We come back to manage, add roles and features. Next, next, next. You come to your IIS, you expand it. Are we in class now? Web server.
Yes, I am.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I am.
You expand web server. Another web server is there, right? Security. You expand security. So look at all these ones that we have here. Which one do you think is close to what we want to do? We want to ensure that only users on the network can log in. We don't want
Number
to
4, the last one.
The last one. What does the last one say?
Oh no, Windows authentication.
Yes. So this is where we are coming. And what do you say? Next. Next. So assuming you are a professional and you know what you are doing, you would have done this initial time when we were what? Installing IIS. But because I want to show us these functions one by one, that's why we have to, we don't want to rush. Okay. Questions while we are waiting for that. Questions?
So why not install it alongside window authentication when you are installing your IIS?
Because we needed to explain to you so that we don't lump everything together.
Okay. When you enable window authentication, meaning people within a domain have access to that because it's intranet, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when you don't enable it,
you can also access from outside. Hold on, sir. You can also access from outside if I give you login details. So it just meant that only people with login details will be able to come in. You will see the difference now when it's done.
Okay.
Okay. Are you done with your line of thought? You have something else to ask or to share?
I'm just coming. I don't even know how to install the IIS.
No, don't worry. You'll see it in the video. Shebi, you don't like to watch video.
We know they watch video.
And that's why you will watch it now.
I will sure watch it tomorrow morning while going to work.
Please do. It's quite explanatory. All these things, when you know what you are doing or when you are acquainted to it, it won't take you time. You are taking this long, like I said before, we normally take this long in training because we try to explain and break it down so all of us can have a good understanding of what you are doing. You're not just clicking and clicking and clicking and clicking. But in real life, when you know what you want to do, you just move fast. Okay. So we are done with it. You say close. Come back to your IIS manager and just refresh. If you refresh this page, authentication, I expect that by now we are going to have Windows authentication here. Or let me close this and launch it. If I launch it new, site, default. Okay, so you see there were two items there before. Now you have what? the third one, Windows authentication. So I can disable this. I click on anonymous, disable, and I click on Windows authentication and say enable. So now only users that have access to my domain can be able to work.
So if somebody that is not in the tries, it just gives them this error, this tipping forward.
Yes. So let's just try one here now. Look at this web page. What if I refresh it? Okay. Let's check if our enable is working here. Oh yes, it is working. Can I also refresh? Okay. So probably because of catch or cache, but this is what we're gonna do. I closed it and then I will launch it again. And I'll try to log in to my local host. So let's sign into our local host now. It doesn't take effect. What's happening?
But you are the user you used to sign on is part of the domain.
Yes,
Will it take effect?
it is part of the domain. I expect that at this point, it will not just allow anybody to log in anyhow. Okay, well, let's come and log in from, oh, our client machine has timed out. Oh, well, we can still do it from here. So come in, let's close all this. I'm launching my IIS. All right. You expand the server, you expand site, click on domain. Let's check authentication. Authentication says anonymous is disabled, Windows is what? Enabled. And I try to power up my browser to go and log in into the server to my web page. I expect it to ask me. Okay.
Supposed to show error 401.
Exactly.
Let's
But
go to client. Let's go to client and check.
Let's go to clients because we are still working within.
okay, let's check from client. Our client is still running, so let me check something now. The default. Can I get rid of Aaron? Yes. Can I check my landing page now? Okay, it goes back to hello host. I think these things are because of catch that they are here. But it's not
Let's just go to clients and load and search for it from clients.
and again, because this is a administrator side, it also might not challenge me because I'm an administrator. This is okay, I get it. I'm browsing local host. Okay, it is a local
You are
host.
browsing within local host from the local machine.
I'm browsing myself. That's the word.
Yeah.
All right. I'm browsing myself. Authentication will actually take effect from here. It will take effect from here. Okay. Has anybody forgotten their password recently?
I have one password to all my machines.
Okay, so for trading purpose, it's okay, but don't do that in real life.
Yeah.
Before you wake up one day and realize that they have helped you, they
To
have
reconfigure
they have
your
they have lifted your body, your pleasant body. They lifted it from your shoulder, right?
yeah. So for us, at least if we are in the office, we should always endeavor to lock our systems. Even when we are going to the toilet, please just lock your system, please. Something happened on Friday in my office that I wouldn't want to I wouldn't want it to happen to anybody. One of my superior just came around. He saw someone open his mail. He sent a mail to HR from that place. Please kindly know that I will be leaving the company so time. All because the system was not locked.
Is the person
Please.
resigning or taking permission
The
to
person is not resigning. Oh. The
just
superior made the system open. He went straight to his Outlook, sent a mail to HR.
This is
Just
what
to,
happened
just to
to,
punish him for not
yes, yes.
punish him for not blocking
Yeah.
his laptop.
This
You
happens many times. You need to
yeah,
lock your
please,
system
we
when you're
always
leaving your
endeavor
desk.
to lock our systems in our various offices, please.
okay, and then you can also set your system to auto lock after, let's say,
5
2 minutes of
years.
inactivity. It locks itself. That's what I do here. Even if I'm gisting with my friend, well, someone come into my office and then whatever, or my oga calls me on phone on the office cam, and then I'm just gisting with him, or he's giving me instruction or anything. I'm even talking to subordinate. After 2 minutes of inactivity, my system locks out itself. So if by any chance from that phone call I had to quickly rush out of the office, I don't have to bother. All right. So see what is happening here now. He's asking us to what? To log in before we can access
Credential.
this web. All right. So the reason why it wasn't asking us here is because I'm browsing local host. I'm browsing myself.
You set your what's called security settings, then you are browsing yourself within.
Yeah.
You
So
don't have any security guiding you within.
Or can we set the IP address too on the server?
of course,
Or,
yes. You can define which
or
IP address you'll be able to access, right? You can. Okay, so I was working in a company where I handled I was close to the IT unit, and then okay, so it was Guinness when I was in Guinness Nigerian PLC as an intern, not graduate intern though. This year for CUS that we normally do,
okay, yeah.
and they gave us a system. No matter what you do on that system, you cannot enter Facebook, you cannot enter any of the social media website. High that then it used to be high five. High five was common then, just like Facebook. All right. So what they did is just to configure uh the IP address assigned to that system, the LAN cable that came to that laptop for all IT students to access if they give us work to do. They block that IP from accessing the web, from using the web facility of the company. Straight up like that. All right. So it is not only Facebook, you cannot even access the web. All right. I remember it was on the staff PC that they blacklist some web pages that we not open, but on our own it was the IP address. There are many ways you can set permissions and authentication, as it depends on how vast you are. You can set it such that the IP address, whatever query coming from it, the router will block it. It will not be able to pass. You can set it that it will be able to pass, but it cannot access some. All right, so let's move ahead. So the user here, who's one user here that we know? Username, I think J. Olabime is the user. Do we remember his password? I can say remember my credentials if it is a private system. Okay, I think he's not taking the password. You do not have permission to view this directory or page using credentials that you supplied.
That you supplied.
Bam.
Bam.
So what's happening? You're not able to go in. 192.
Can it?
Is someone saying something? Is it J Olabimi? It is G now. See, this is my item. So, are you following me at all? You just left me in this ocean to swim all by myself.
You thought you know all this in offhand.
No, I'm
Yeah.
following you.
Was it not all of us that created this user account in class together?
You already said it now, so that we know.
I didn't do.
Is Mr. Olabimi in class? No. Do you see the difference now? Can you see it? We are in. Hello, world.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, right.
So because we used the wrong credentials the other time. Okay, so let's go to tools, Active Directory users and computers. So I just want to show you so that you won't think I formed that. Remember when we were here? Do you remember everybody?
Yes.
You remember Olabimi that we moved from user OU to the domain? Do you remember? Look at his link here, g.olabimi. You remember? Okay, so that's it. I'm closing this now.
Let's go back to that place, please.
Okay. I am back to that place. Here?
Oh, okay, okay.
Is that all? Okay.
Yeah. So on web page, so for him to access the web page, you use g.alabimi.
Not Z though. G dot. That's the
Olabimi.
yes, but that's what we created for him. You were the one that set G.Olabimi. We said that the company policy is the first letter of your first name and then dot your surname. For that company, for the company he works for, I-10 International. That's what we created. Let us go and check for. I think we created for Aaron. We created for Sumono Adiola, right? I think we created for them as well. Look at Adiola Sumono here. Account. Where is? Look at it. A dot what? A dot Sumono. Did you see it?
Yeah.
A dot Sumono. I think we created for who again?
Right,
look at H dot gift. We created for Said as well. See Said here. Account S dot for your own like my company now. It is your two names, but there must be dot. Obafemi dot Adegoke at i10.com at whatever it is.com or .org or .io, whatever name of your domain. So let's just leave that and move forward. We are exploring our homepage. What else? How about compression? What's happening here? static content compression, dynamic content compression. So what do we mean by static and dynamic compression? Okay, so there are two types of compression offered by IIS, and you've seen it here: static and dynamic. Static is enabled by default. Okay, so IIS will compress static content and save it to a cache folder. Because it is static, if you query that web page 10 times, it will not change. That is what you are seeing here. Hello world. This is like a static content now. All right. But okay, and it will save it on a cache folder because it is static. Cache folder means that because it doesn't change, anytime you query it will not take so long before it will return a response for you. So a cache is a special storage space for temporary files. Okay, it makes device, a browser or app, a website to run fast. So after you open a website for the first time, a cache will stash the files on that website on a temporary file. Okay, there's a way you can actually see a cache file on your browser such that the site that you open, you will see images from that. Okay, but if it is okay, I have to mute everybody now because I'm hearing myself. Someone has put us on speaker. Can you please mute yourself if you are not talking to us, please? But if it is a dynamic compression content, it means that the content changes every time the client or a user requests for it. That's why it is called dynamic compression. Okay, so let me give us a live example now. For a site that markets, can you please mute yourself? I can hear myself. Okay, if that will not happen, I can go and do it. Thank you. All right, so I'm trying to give us an instance of a static content compression and a dynamic content compression. Okay, so let's take for instance WAEC website that when you query it, you put in your registration number and your PIN. If another person queries it, he puts in registration number and PIN. What it returns to me, you know what it will return to another person, right? What kind of compression will you use for that kind of site? Static or dynamic?
That's a dynamic site.
Thank you.
Dynamic.
Dynamic, because at every turnaround, all right, there is a change. Okay, but imagine a website that is reporting advert of a job. If everybody in the whole world queries it, it will link you to the same page talking about how federal government wants to employ 100,000 youth. If I query it here where I am, the same thing. If you query that website where you are, the same thing. That kind of site, what do you think the compression will be? Dynamic or static? It's going to be static. So for that kind of site, what static content compression does is it will immediately just catch that file and put it in a temporary file. So it will not waste its time again to go and ask the web server in the cloud, since it is static, because it is returning the same thing irrespective of who is querying it. So it takes time. Sorry, it doesn't take time for it to return to whoever is querying it. All right. So why do you compress? It improves the perceived performance of the website greatly and reduce bandwidth related charges. Okay, so for what's it called now? For static, the moment it catch that file, it will reduce the data it will consume to return that file to you. It's as simple as that. Okay, so what I want to show us now is how we can enable dynamic content compression. So the basic thing here is just that it is compressing the content of a web page before it puts it out there on the site. All right. So the compression it will do for static is such that after it recognizes that this is a static compression. The moment it compresses it, it catches it. So that cache means that it will not need to go to the far internet or go and search for wherever the server is being hosted to bring you results. Because it is a static compression, it knows that this content will not change. But for a dynamic compression, it will not catch it because at every time they query it, it changes depending on the request of the client or of the user. Do we get that now? So it's as simple as that. So now let's go and configure that. You come to manage, add rules. Next, next. Next. Are we in class?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, we are.
So we see, remember we are in our web IIS. Come here, web server, web server. So does anybody want to guess which one of these are we working on? It's going to be on performance, the performance of the site. All right. Look at it. Static is already there. We just add dynamic content compression. Say next. And then you say next. And you install.
Sorry, how did you say the dynamic compression work again?
Okay, so when you enable dynamic content compression for a site, all right, what you are saying is that for every time this site is queried, the response changes. Do you get? The response
Yes.
changes based on what you're asking for. So imagine WAEC, or let's use another example. Imagine what's the name now?
Let's use bank.
Exactly.
In the
Imagine
morning
UBA.
when you query, the morning when you query a bank, you will see good morning. In the afternoon, you will see good afternoon. In the evening, you see
Exactly. Thank you. Something like that. All right. So for every, they can also do mixed hybrid compression, like what you just said now, such that the part that is changing, the part that is changing will be the hours or the greeting, while every other thing remains constant. But there could be pages like, let me say, to know your account balance. So if I query account balance session, I cannot enable static compression at that point, because when I query, my account balance is different from your account balance. It's different from other person's account balance. All right. But assuming I query know your customer, I mean web page within web page, it is called directory. Let me look for it. Okay, this one is done. I will close it now. Directory browsing, right? A web page, then other web pages, sub web pages, directory browsing. If I query know your customer, it will return the same page for me as it will return the same page for you, isn't it? It's just that what we're going to be filling there, it will be what? Will be different. But it's returning the same KYC form for us. So with that kind of web page,
Bring up the
we're going
same
to
form
configure
for us to fill.
static compression. But for the web page where I will have to see my BVN or my account balance, it will not be the same for everybody. So I cannot configure static compression. What I'm configuring for that kind of web page is what? Dynamic context compression. Right? So you can move ahead now. You can look into what else? Default document. I think we've talked about this.
So
Right?
all this configuration, is it for every website?
This is the website I'm working on. Yes, sir.
Okay, default website for this. Okay, for
Yes.
every website, you have to configure all this for them.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
He said, wow.
Sorry, Mr. Femi.
Yes, sir.
Assuming we have more than one website, can we use the same one server for all of the websites? So we have like 5, 10, 6 websites.
Yes, it's possible. So there are companies that
That person's remote now.
what they do is
Hmm?
they just host your site for you. Do you get me? They just host your site for you. All right. When we get to AWS, you will see that you can launch many web servers. You can spin up. They call it EC2
Yes.
in AWS. You can spin up plenty EC2s right from one AWS, from your own AWS console. You can just be hosting different sites for people. All right. So
Okay.
we're moving ahead. You want to ask question?
No.
So let's push ahead, please. Let's look at site. This is site. This is application, and this is a virtual directory. There's something called site, application, virtual directory. So on this IIS, like you asked me, you can have many sites still on this same server. This is a default site here. I can launch other sites still going to be inside this one, which you are going to do and you will see. Right? So site is a container for applications and virtual directories. And you can access sites via unique bindings. Bindings can be two, either binding protocol, which is HTTP or HTTPS, or binding information, which is your IP address. All right. I take that again. Site are containers for applications or virtual directory, and you can access it through Bindings. Can you hear me? It is raining heavily here. So I might
Yeah,
even
we
be
can,
shouting. Am I shouting on you people? I'm sorry. My environment has changed, so I thought I had to speak more to be audible. But can you all hear me, please?
yes, we are hearing you.
Yes,
All
I can
right.
hear you.
Thank you. So let's take this for instance. This is a this is a site, even though we didn't do much there, but this is a website. The binding we use here is what? Binding protocol, which is HTTP. We can also use binding information like the IP address 192 to access it. Do you get what I mean by bindings now? And bindings are unique to a particular website.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying now?
All right. So what happened there is asking us to come and, oh, okay,
This is what
because
I'm
I
saying.
use, I'm coming.
This is what I'm saying the other time.
Let me use IP address. Okay, let me use localhost. See if it's going to ask me the same thing. Do you see the difference? Hello,
I
are we
was
in
saying
class?
I was saying it the other time that if you use IP address on the server, it might ask you for the
So you are
password.
muted. We didn't hear you.
Eh,
I just assumed that you were muted because I didn't hear anything of such. If I had it, I would have done it. But I didn't hear anything. So it means that you are muted when you are saying it. All right. So because I used IP address, all right, it asked me to what? To enter whatever. But when I use the local host, it allowed me. All right. So what brought us here is I'm trying to explain to us bindings. Okay. These are ways you can access a site. All right. Two, bindings, binding information, binding protocol. Binding protocol is you use the HTTP. Okay. It could be www.http colon slash slash www.ajanlekoko.com. All right, or you know the IP address, you query the IP address, it returns the site to you. Another thing is application. All right, application is a group of files that delivers content or provides services over protocols. Protocols like HTTP or HTTPS. Your Facebook is a web application, right? Your commerce website like jumia.com is a web application, all right? So like I said in last, okay, was it last class or the beginning of this class, that your work as Windows administrator, Windows network administrator, is that you make the environment able for developers to come and use. So as you have created this IIS and as you have configured this authentication, you configured compression, you tested with it, everything is working. The next job is the job of the developer. Either that developer sends you the script that you will come and put here or in a directory browsing, or you just send him, you give him access to the web server. This is the back end of this web server. This is the front end. What you are seeing here, are you getting it now? Are we in class? This is the back end. So you can give
Yes, we are getting
the
you.
DevOps person access to this back end. They can come here and load his application. But before he could do that, you had already come to manage You've added roles and features, you have configured your IIS. All right. In a sane environment, it is a teamwork. I do my part, make the environment available for you, you do it. But in Nigeria, only you will do everything. Nigerian employers, they are looking for the software engineer that will write the code, he will compile it, he will test run it, he will check, he will quality check it. When it's done, you say, "Oh, well done, Mr. Ayodele." They push you. So when are you launching it? Only you again will come to server Nigeria and they will use you like a rainwater. But that's not for today. Let's move ahead. You have made the environment available for the person that developed the applications to come and what? To come and run. All right. And that is why in Glassdoor recruitment, all right, that's a site that recruits for people. You will see that
Yes.
DevOps, sorry, architects, they are well paid than software engineers. All right, because software engineer job is narrow. Just go and write the code to solve the problem. This is what we are doing here is architecting though. It's just that this is Windows architecting, not cloud. All right. It develops, okay, so this software, which environment is suitable for it, is the one that reason the real work that architects do in real life. Like prototype of that is what solution architects do as well. Okay, he has idea of software engineering, he has idea of DevOps, he had idea of all forms of development. So it's the one that will now design. Okay, so this is the best environment for it to launch. This is who and who should have access. This is the IP range we should pick because this is by the time it does all that, the head is already on fire now. All right, but for the software engineering guy, he just writes the code. He has a compiler on his system. There are even online compilers that can help you to check if your software, if your program, your script is good to go. He compiles it. If it's done, he pushes it to you. All right. But he might push it to you and then you see that it's not even conforming. But on his own compiler, he's working well. Or someone will just call you, say, your server, I've been trying to do this and this. I cannot even log in. He's asking me, it is your own headache, not the headache of the software developer, the writer. All right. So that's how it is. You make the environment available and you also manage the environment. Okay, so the person that writes the application, you either give him access to your backend to launch it, or you guys do it together. And there is also what we call virtual directory. All right, virtual directory. See it here, virtual directory. So inside this web page that you have here, localhost, you can also have localhost slash something like web page inside web page. You cannot find this because there's nothing like that yet, right? We're going to do it now. You're going to see that there could be something like that. So a virtual directory is a directory name that you specify in IIS and you map it to a physical directory on the local or remote server. Remember at the beginning of this class, I said to every server, there is hardware component somewhere that is hosting it. All right. The same thing with the virtual directory. It is mapped to somewhere. So yesterday when we were doing sharing and security, when we created a folder, you that you are in the comfort of your room, if I share that folder with you and I give you the path, I've been sharing by path, not by volume. That path is mapped to a particular local or remote server somewhere. The same thing with virtual directory. All right. Then the directory names now become part of the application's URL. This is your URL here. Assuming this is the directory name, this is the path. This is the whole part. When I create one, you will see it now. When we create one, and then this is how we can now what? Access it. All right. So can we create a virtual directory? We cannot create application. That's why you didn't see us practice application, because it means we now have to go and develop an application and come and add it here. All right. That's training for another people.
If we create application,
Yep.
you know, application, you have different languages in play. Creating application.
Yeah.
Is there a functionality that we make that will help us to deploy a particular language of application with them? Maybe like a PHP or Java
Yep. There is.
or .NET applications,
Yep.
which are C sharp and it was
Python,
Python.
PHP,
Yeah.
anything you want to use to write your application, you can as well bring it here. All right. So you can add, that is not your role as a network administrator. But that doesn't
Okay.
mean, it doesn't mean you cannot have the knowledge. All right. You can know how to write applications, design a website. You can still know how to put it in IIS and host it. All right. But this training, just like in Yoruba, it is called an ayaba. You are branching. We are not
Yeah.
branching. So let us move ahead. All right. So you've seen site. We have a default site here. Right. Then let's go and application. I've shown you what it does and how you can integrate it. Right. But we cannot create applications for this training. It's going to be too extensive. Let us do a virtual direct. Let us create another part inside our website. Okay, so how do we do that? First, you come and prepare the directory you want to create. Okay, so because it's a virtual directory, it doesn't have to be inside this root. It can be here, right? This is our item file 2 that we created the other time, Abby. Can we put it here? Oh, let's just create another folder. Remember we said that for virtual directory, it is mapped to a local or a physical directory on a local or remote server. That's what we want to do now. Let's create a new folder and let's call it item web. Okay. And let me see, let's put in a content of an HTML file inside text documents. Let's call it web page dot html, isn't it? If I open it, let's see, how are you doing? Can we save? Save, close. All right. Is
Did
that
not
it?
change.
Oh, it did not change. Let's save as again. Save as, what do we call it now? Item.html. If it changes, it doesn't change, it's not an issue. Okay. So can I delete this? Yep. Now you come to, what's happening? Okay. You come to your default website, right? You right click. Are you following me? You right click
Yes.
and you
Yeah.
say add virtual directory. Okay, add what? Virtual directory. What was the name of what we created?
Item.
I10 HTML.
Right. Remember we said for every virtual directory, it is mapped to a what? A physical directory on a local or remote server. This is the physical part. Where did we save it? PC.
It's computer. Look at this.
Itan web. Isn't this folder that we saved it on? Right? This folder, right? Okay. And you say what? Okay. So you see that we now have this inside this point, isn't it? The next thing you do is
Yeah.
you come and add it up. All right, you come and add it up here in folder here. So what do? You just say add it to this place. What's the name that we
I10
gave to it?
Item web.
I10.html.
Thank you. So if we come here now, I expect us to be able to browse for what? Localhost. item.html. Can you see it?
Yeah.
So this is how you create virtual directory. So if we stop at localhost, it will take us to our home page, right? But we can query it the more. Item.html. So these are things that website developers do. A file that you will click on your home page on your website, you will click on login, and then it takes you to where? To the login page.
That page.
All right. Do you know that you cannot just jump from HTTP, skip the home page and go to login? You must pass through the home page, isn't it? Right. But all
Yeah.
these things are the back end of software developers. They have what? Arranged it for you. So we are showing you the back end. All right. So someone now come and say, when they click on the login page, they are not seeing anything. The screen is blank. All right. So the person that developed the website has collected your company's money and is flexing already. So it is you, the administrator, that now you come to the back end. You will see
Hello,
plenty files. Okay, sir.
Mr. Femi.
Yes, sir.
Sorry for taking you back. On this default document, we have I10. I10 is the something directory. The one we just
Virtual directory, yes.
virtual directory, yeah.
Yes.
But we have default HTML and default ASP. What's the difference? Is it because of different application?
Okay, no. I can delete all these ones. These ones came by default with the web page, this default
Okay.
website. But I can remove them, like I said earlier. We can remove them and put our own.
So,
Remember that when we wanted to remove this II start, initially this II start showed us plenty what? Plenty pictures.
plenty welcome.
You get, and then we replaced it with index. And at a point we created for, I think, Aaron. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember.
Exactly. So that's the same thing we have here.
So the for the no the our home web page is welcome or something welcome, right?
Yes, but you can change it. It is not.
So which one of this one is the home? Is it the index?
Of course, it is the index.
So if you want
Let's
to use that II start or something, can we still use that?
yes.
How are we going to do it?
If I disable this,
Okay, have you disabled this one already?
no, I've not.
I start.
This one,
Uh,
I replaced it. All right. So let's do this.
Let's just while we are doing our what is it called labs, we'll get what we are all these questions right.
Well, that's true, but can we try something?
Well,
Can we delete index, remove, right? And let's check our localhost. Okay, so that's not all. If it is still here, exactly, if it is still here, we should be able to see it. Can we remove our run as well? Let's refresh. Are you following me?
yes.
So you see it now. So it's just by preference. Okay, so the latest one you have in that www root is one that it will be taking.
Exactly. That's the answer I need.
All right.
Because I noticed you have different ones. How come is that one that is now picking and not the other ones?
To pick the latest one you have, you can also order it here.
Mr. Femi,
you can also order it from here. Move up, move down to tell you which one you want it to take. All right. Ask
but
your
Mr.
question.
Femi,
Yes, sir.
after hosting a site, because I encountered some similar issue, because when I was sending back, I was actually in their very registers.
Okay.
We are overseeing IT registrars. So after there was one particular site we hosted. It was actually user information, so that if they search for their names, they will see the shares they have and the one that is allocated to them. So when we are done with that right, we call it right issuers. When we are done with the right, like 2 months later, I got a call from IT security that we have data that are exposed to public users, that it shouldn't be that way. What I did is I came to this particular place. I added a stripe to it so that when the user search for it, they will not get it straight, because there is an additional what was it called? Additional character that will not make them get it. So as soon as I add that to it, to that site location, they could not access
it.
Yes.
So what you did was you altered the path.
Yes, I altered the path.
Yes.
Actually, at that time, I had no information about this, because they did not really take me through how this is being done. But the consultant that deployed the app, he thought I know everything about it.
Okay.
So me not to form my own self hand, I go Google. I can't go Google, can't check how can I change a part of a hosted site in IIS. So I saw you can actually alter the part
to make the part.
Yes, so that the public view will not be able to view it.
Yeah.
So that was what I did. Immediately I done that, I checked back to see if I have access to it. I entered the normal URL to see if I have access
to it.
I did not have access. The next day, I just replied the mail that has already escalated. Kindly know that this also has been done. I was so proud of myself.
So the explanation is in the definition of directory browsing. When directory browsing means you are opening other web pages within the website other than the home page. And that means it must have a unique what? It must be tied to a particular host path on the remote server. That's it. So if the host path is not readable, it won't get it. So let's just do that. Let me show you something quickly now. Let me show you something quickly. Please mute yourself. Look at this now. This is item web and this is item inside. What if I come here and create another virtual directory? And let me name it item and still network it to that what? To that path. This. So what am I doing? This rather. Item web. Okay. Okay. Do you observe what is happening here? This is
Yes.
item.html. This is what?
Item.
This is item.
Oh,
Right? If I let me open this. See what is here. Item.html, right? It is seeing it.
Same thing.
The same thing you have
Meaning
here.
you can use either of them.
You get. Excellent. Now, let me delete this. I just removed this now. Right? Let me come here and browse. Item.html. Voila. Are you seeing it?
Yeah.
It's returning nothing because this part does no longer what? Exist.
Yes.
What is happening within this part now is that there is a folder before it. There's an item folder before it. If I launch this, it should take me to that page now. Let's go and check. This. Look at this item. If I browse for it here now, this is within my server. Do you see this? Let's look at the path. Have you seen the path now?
Yes.
The path has changed. There is a folder, a directory before it. It is this item HTML is now inside item folder.
Then the item is also inside local server.
You get it now. So when you are creating web pages inside web pages, subfolders, that's what we call it, subfolders, there are also parts that what? That describes them. They must be linked to a what? They must be linked to a what? A physical directory and a local
directory and a local
remote server. All right, so there's just one thing more that I would like to show us. There's something we call directory browsing. Directory browsing allows you to see all the content of a website. It will display the content of a website. So for this site now, if I enable directory browsing, just look at it here, right? You click on the site, you come to directory browsing. If you double click directory browsing, you just come and click enable. If you say enable, if you go and browse for this site, instead of it to show you welcome, it will now list for you the folders and the files on that site with the time, with the size, with the extension, with the date. Okay, but it is dangerous because you don't need, with that one now, you don't even need to specify the path. You can go and click, once it lists all the folders and files on that website for you, you can go and click the one you have. All right, but most, especially sensitive websites, they do not enable directory browsing on their website. Okay, they only want you to go to where they want you to go to. There are some that is only available for maybe the site administrator, all right, to access. But if you enable directory browsing, you will see everything. So you can accidentally disclose sensitive content in directory browsing. You don't want to do that. All right. So when you are doing your own, activate directory browsing, come and browse for that link and tell us what you come up with. We'll do one thing more and then we can close for today. Our site, our website is hosted on HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. There are other protocols that web servers use. We've talked about them before. Talked about SFTP, talked about SMTP, we talked about FTP, File Transfer Protocol, all of that. All right. But there are some sites that are sensitive. You need to harden the site. It means that to every information your client is inputting from their own end on that site, you must encrypt it such that nobody can intercept it on the way and decipher it and know what they are putting. So you must have heard of HTTP and HTTPS, right? HTTP is a primary protocol to send data between a web browser and a website, between a client and a web server. It is insecure. It can be intercepted and leaked, or it can be misused by any other program written by one mischievous person. All right. So you need to secure your website by using HTTPS. Okay. So HTTPS is encrypted to help you increase security of data being moved around on that site. All right. Imagine you put your password, you put your PIN, you put your uh, credit card number, you put the expiry date, you put the 3 digits at the reverse side of your credit card or your ATM card, and someone somewhere is able to get it. They can go and spend your money behind you or on your behalf. They help you to blow it since you don't know how to protect it, or your website or your bank don't know how to. So there are layers that helps you to do this. So HTTP uses encryption protocols to encrypt communications, all right? And the protocol is called Transport Layer Security, TLS. Before they used to call it Secure Socket Layers, SSL, all right? So to secure our site and ensure client data, we need to generate SSL certificate, and then we bind that certificate to that site such that the protocol will now be HTTPS. All right. So all the plenty English is that HTTP is not secured. You can run into problem if your site is sensitive. But if your site is just giving information,
Can you
Sorry,
mute everybody?
can you mute
Please, we need this
everybody?
information.
Somebody's
Seriously.
referring us.
Please mute everybody, please.
okay. All right. So Okay, I think I should take that again. We need to harden our website. HTTP is porous. Someone somewhere can write a program, okay, that can intercept the data that you are moving around on your website that is being run by HTTP protocol. So what we need to do is we need to generate an SSL certificate. In real life scenario, SSL certificates are generated by third parties, right? It helps you to encrypt the data you are moving on that site, right? So when on my own system, I enter my account number, my BVN, and my PIN, all right? Everything on that website is not seeing what I am typing. It is already encrypted until it gets to where it is going at the server side. And the same thing when it is returning result for me, it is still what? Encrypted, such that nobody can interrupt it. Another, you will see websites like bank website, insurance website, e-commerce website, your Jumia, your Amazon, they run strictly on HTTPS. All right, they don't run HTTP. But website like lindaikg.com, nobody has any issue here. Okay, she can choose to run it on HTTPS because that's not the she too is trying to secure the content on our page so that someone somewhere does not hack in and put what is not hers. Okay, but sites that are just for fun, they don't use HTTPS because they wouldn't want to expend money. Because to every server you bind an SSL certificate to, you are paying for that SSL certificate because it's generated by what? By third party. All right. There are also persons that what they do is they QC servers, website codes. All right. So when they ask you this server, this site, what did you build it for? This purpose, and they cannot see you having some measure of security level, they won't rate you well. All right. And if they don't rate you well, there are some IP address that will not be able to access that website because they fear it will affect, you might introduce malware or problem into their network. All right. So for those of us that work in companies, there are some sites you try to enter and they will tell you this site is not secure. Okay, they can ask you to continue. Some will not ask you to continue. Some will ask you to continue at your own what discretion. But a site that when you enter your server is able to verify its certificate, then they can allow that query to pass. Okay, so for the purpose of training, we are going to generate our own SSL certificate. Okay, SSL, like I said earlier, is secure socket layer, although it has now been replaced with TSL, transport layer security. All right, so the exercise we want to generate is for the purpose of this training, just to show you, like I said, most times it is done by third-party persons. Okay. And what we want to do is, because we are the one generating it ourselves, is a self-signed SSL certificate. It's a self-signed. So how do we do that? I'll show us quickly now. From our server side, right? We come here, the server. You click on the server here, see server certificate. Server certificate. You click on it, you double click as though you want to open it, and you come to create self-signed certificate. Are we in class? Give me a thumbs up in the comment section if you are in class.
Yes, we are. We are.
All right, thank you. Create self-signed certificate. You click on it. We want to create our own what? Self-signed certificate that will bind to our site just to help us so that we can use HTTPS. What do you call our certificate? Let's call it item SSL. Select certificate store for new certificate. Is it personal? Yes. We are not hosting our site. It's personal. We say what? We say okay. And now we have certificate here.
So sorry, Mr. Fem.
Okay.
Assuming we are going to host it
Yes.
and we click host,
Yes.
does it now mean that we would have gotten a web from GoDaddy and Co or something?
Yes. At that point, it might not even allow you to use a self-signed certificate on the web. You can mute yourself now. It might not even allow you to use this on a web, self-signed on a web hosting, because it is not safe. Even with this one now, by the time we browse for it, it will still warn us that this HTTP certificate is, you cannot verify it, cannot tell you it is secure. All right. So you can also even double click it and see what is inside. You see, there's really nothing inside. This certificate is intended for the following purpose: ensure the identity of a remote computer, all issuance policies issued by, can you imagine? It is issued by us to us, and it is valid for 1 year. Okay, like I said, most TSL are by third party to help you secure your site. Right. So now we are going to bind this certificate to our site such that we can now say we have a secure website. How do we do that? Default website, bindings. At the action pane, you will see bindings. You click on bindings. What we have currently is HTTP port 80. This is universal everywhere. HTTP is port 80. If we say add, to now tell us what we want to add, you drop down type to HTTPS. You observe that when you drop down type HTTPS, the port changed to 443. These are common interview questions to know if someone even have a jack of what he's saying, because they are elementary questions if you say you are in IT. So what's the port for HTTP? 80. What's the port for HTTPS? 443. What's there are ports for TCP, Total Custom Protocol, Transfer Custom Protocol, right? 8080 like that. But don't worry, when we get to AWS, you will see all these things. All right. So this is it. You drop down this, then so IP address. Do I want to assign to all, or do I want to assign to only this one? Okay. Now, if I say only this one, it is only this one that we have. See where my mouse is. This default, we have it. This item, even though it is under here, it also has its own IP address. So the IP address of this item might be 190.168.120 column, say 5555 or something. But you can always find out on the site. Okay, when you see something, when you see something like this, that means it is a what? It is a directory browser. Sorry, a virtual directory rather. All right, but let us assign it to all for this training purpose. Then you drop down SSL certificate to select your item SSL. Leave your host name, there's no need for it. You just say, okay. And now we have our HTTPS binded to this website here. And so you close. What do you want to do next? You want to come and check if HTTPS is now working. You just come here and put S here and you enter. It says you are about to view pages over a secure connection. Any information you exchange with this site cannot be viewed by anyone else on the web. Do you see this? You cannot be viewed by anyone else on the web because it is a secured what? Connection. We're able to do that because we created an SSL and binded it to this website. We say, okay, it is now loading. Even as it is loading, it will still warn us because that certificate, Yoruba call it Barogudu. We didn't really pay for it, it was self. So the secret certificate presented by this website was issued for a different website address. Blah 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 blah. We recommend that you close this web page and do not continue this website. Why are you telling me not to continue? I want to continue. This is just for training purpose. Okay. So I decided to continue. It's loading now. It's loading. It's loading. All right. See HTTPS. But even with that, it still what blanked it. Mismatched address for a different website address. Something we can do. Can we edit this? What if we put, let's try this. Okay, close. Can we refresh? Let's see what will happen. Content below is blocked by contact close. Do you see what is happening? It's not allowing us. Because, okay, so let's do something else. Let me add a virtual directory. Let me name it. Oh no, before I do that, let me just browse for the local host alone. Let's see what's going to happen. Is it the same thing? Continue to prompt. Content from website listed below is being blocked by Internet Explorer. Security configuration. If you trust the website, let's see if we can add it. I'm just doing this. We've passed what we needed to do. I just want to confirm something. Change settings. No. There's no need for this one. So we've come to the end of the class. Binding, let's just return our binding to all. You cannot see this. Or if we put host name here, www.iten.com, to see what's going to happen. But for real, I don't think you want to see that. So please unmute yourself now and talk to me. Are we on the same page? Are we good?
Yep. I'll just start to practice and get all those things right.
There's not an issue. You're going to get it right. I'm audible enough. You people said I'm audible, so I think I'm audible.
We heard everything. So for me, I heard
Thank
everything
you.
you said, and I think it's very, very useful.
Thank you, sir. So please do your labs.
Oh, no.
You have question? Is someone saying there's a question? I'm here. Please ask me your questions. All right. So if there's none, we have come to the end of the class. So for me, I've done everything very smooth and good here. One wise thing to do is to take a snapshot of this my server. Take a snapshot because everything is smooth. You can snapshot it. I can snapshot. So in case I come someday and something is happening, I can return this back. But in real life, snapshot where you have, except if your company is small, like iten.com, you can afford your server to go down. But for big companies like Mr. Aaron, where he's working, I know I'm sure they're not even hosting their server locally. So there's nothing like their server going down. But for practice purpose, learn this to always snapshot after you've done something. Okay, remember what we said was that before you begin any configuration, snapshot. After you have successfully configured as well, snapshot. All right. You might not know where you find yourself tomorrow. It will help you a lot. Yeah.
Even in AWS.
No, AWS, yes, you can snapshot in AWS, but it also has its own way, even if you don't set it. AWS have its own way of taking images. All right. But you can also configure it to be taking snapshotting. But one thing about configuring it yourself is that you are buying space and they will charge you monthly for it. Like this morning now, AWS sent me a bill of $1.83 for what I consumed in June 2021. All right. Even after I have terminated all instances because I used it to teach people. All right. But I remember I left one for long, or I kept a snapshot separate for if I want to spin EC2 from a template. And since it is taking memory, they'll charge. But it's not much. It's not much.
Your luck is that you did not have storage somewhere.
No, I didn't have no. Once I used it to teach you and you are done, I get that you understood everything I taught you. I terminate all the instances. That this one they charged me, I think it is for I I created some special EC2s and I saved them as templates so that I don't have to go and create them specially again. I can spin EC2s up from that template. That's why my charge was that much. Other days they charge me as low as 43 cents, $0 43 cents. But I know why this one rose up to as high as $1.83. So that's just
Okay.
by the way. I think
Okay. When do we get access to the notes also?
oh, I should have sent the note. Note is not rocket science. I'm giving you is yours. All right, so I'll wait for this to process before I sleep. But while that one is going on, I'll push the note. All right. Okay, so
Thank you, Mr. Femi.
you're welcome, sir. If there are no other questions, please find time to do
Well,
your labs.
I wouldn't have time to ask question because I didn't start with the class though.
Don't worry,
I
you
will
didn't miss
try and
much.
see if I can start. I
You didn't
will
miss
try
much.
and see if I can work
Yeah. And
the
while you
video.
are watching, if you have questions, please post on the forum. We'll answer for you. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. These
You're
are actually
welcome.
being.
You're welcome. All right. I'll see you all. Bye.
When is our wiki break?
After next week. Yeah.
Okay.
We have
And
two
you know,
classes
you are
more.
still owing me one class. Oh,
You said?
you are still owing me one class. How to set policy to disable
Oh yes.
external.
No, that one's not a class. It's something that I will explain on the page. All right.
Okay.
But it's not an issue. Let's finish up with this module first.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, sirs. Take good care of you. Please do your labs. Bye.